Councilmember Goodrich.
This is about getting rid of the Cable Advisory Board.
Mr. Smith, I don't know if the public is aware of this, but we've got some pretty amazing facilities over where you work there. Some state-of-the-art technology that people can use, come in and go from filming a video and never having to lay hands on a camera in their life to actually producing a television show. So we've got some great capabilities there. I was wondering, what has your department done to promote these facilities?
Thank you, Councilman. That's a very good question. Michael Smith, City Manager's Office. The Office of Cable and Community Relations routinely includes announcements about Torrance Community Television or public access, which is a free speech forum, in our e-newsletter on a regular basis. We also include it in the quarterly newsletter, Torrance Seasons. It's promoted on the channel, and it's promoted among staff. But we found the most effective way to publicize public access is word of mouth, from other producers to other residents and sharing. And so that's been the most effective way.
Okay. So other than, how many producers do we have?
We have two tiers. One is users and one is producers. Users are allowed to submit programs that they've already produced or acquired. They can put those on the channel, and they can also submit announcements which would crawl at the bottom of the screen about whatever activity, event, or service that's going on in the community. And then the second tier are producers. Those are people who have already gone through our training. They know how to utilize our field and post-production equipment as well as our studio. So under the users, we average over 500 individuals under the user status. And under the producer status, it's around just under 50. And that number always fluctuates. It's never the same 50 all the time. Public access, you can equate similar to other recreational programs that community services offers, where people have a certain interest in it for a brief period of time, perhaps maybe 2 to 3 years, and then they find something else that they're more interested in doing as a hobby. So somewhere around 50, and it's a churning number.
Okay. And how many of those on average would you say are active at any given point in time?
Oh, it's probably of the 50 that are trained, probably around 30, give or take.
Okay, so we've got about 30 people out there that are communicating about this program.
Sure.
Have we ever done any kind of public service announcement using our bandwidth, our cable bandwidth, the airwaves, to promote facilities?
We have produced programs on the channel. There's also been full-page announcements on the channel inviting the community to come and participate. We've held open house to introduce the facility.
This is about getting rid of the advisory board.
And in the previous years, we used to host an annual awards competition program. And that was a means of introducing the facility as well as the content to the community.
Okay. So when and how well was that attended?
The award shows were attended on average anywhere between 100 to 150 people in the community. The last open house we had a year ago, I'd say probably between 50 and 80. It's a kind of a fluid organization of a sense. So people drop in, come and go, and then move on.
Okay. So you mentioned these PSAs. When was the last time that we ever aired an advertisement to inform the public about their capability of coming and taking advantage of these facilities?
The public access announcements run the channel routinely.
So those are ongoing currently. Yeah. Okay. Looking through the staff report here, I couldn't help but notice it's not in the form of a traditional white paper, and I thought that our intent when we approved this to investigate shutting down this commission would be to explore other options, and if there were none, maybe then we would shut it down. But I'm reading this, and I'm not seeing any information in the staff report, either to us or to the committee, about alternative options or any of those benefits to the community.
There were no options conceived as far as the board was concerned as to how many or different types of activities they could be involved in. We have provided the commission with an opportunity for promotion of the facility over the last several years following the implementation of DIFCA, which is the Digital Infrastructure Video Competition Act of 2008. much eliminated public access throughout the state. Whenever there was the cable operator operating it or a nonprofit facility operating it, the cable companies all opted out of providing the service. Those were all in-kind services. Torrance continues to provide the service because the city offered public access.
Okay.
So we kept the commission, and we continue to allow and give them work in the area of marketing and promotion.
So you're saying you've actively worked with the advisory board members to try to find and solicit their ideas and try to find alternative work that they could be doing should this council decide to change the duties of the advisory board?
That was explored several years ago when the city council was considering consolidation and elimination of commissions. There were a variety of ideas that were presented by the commission to the city council. Those ideas pretty much never evolved beyond what we were already doing.
Okay. So, but nothing as it pertains to this current process?
No.
Okay. And that's what I'm having a bit of a problem with here is not seeing, I mean, if staff is going to come to us with a recommendation without any alternatives, it kind of leads you in one direction only, and it almost seems like a foregone conclusion.
Council,
Like a lot of things.
to create it as a commission and to give it a charter of elements to deal with. They probably could not be public access because public access has been so constrained by the state that there are very limited activities that they can be involved in. The council would have to redefine what the goals and objectives of such a commission would be. It probably would not be a cable commission. You almost have to come up with a new charter or identification for it. But that's really up to the council. Reminder that it's a recommending body, not to the council, but to your status as the foundation, Public Access Foundation. And even the Public Access Foundation, when you're acting in that role, is very constrained. You're not the council. You're dealing with public access under the idea of free access to the cable operations.
Okay. Well, that is helpful. I don't recall seeing any mention of that idea in the staff report. Because looking at the staff report, some of the information I did find helpful, but was not included in the recommendation, as it pertains to what we're talking about here, is looking at the survey of nearby cities. There's approximately 10 cities here that we surveyed. And of those, about 4 still have a commission. And I was looking through their duties as assigned. And I found some pretty good ideas here. For example, film permits. Review that process. I know film permits, when they come to film here in Torrance, they can be pretty lucrative for the city in terms of...
They're not lucrative to the city.
Well, we
receive fees for them. We offset the costs that are involved. But would you want the commission to be reviewing the permits?
Not necessarily reviewing the permits, but exploring ideas of how we can better attract that type of business here in the city. And while the permit itself may not be particularly expensive or revenue worthy, there's an awful lot of people that come down to support filming and spend their money here in the city. Another idea that I saw here is to assign one student member of a commission. So I thought those are a couple of good ideas that were included here. And that's just from a very short survey. So I guess what I'm trying to get at here is I agree with you that this advisory board for a long time has not had as much work as maybe they could have. Maybe we should have explored this much earlier. I've heard lots of complaints over the years as to, basically empower us. Let us be a volunteer. I know back in 2008 or 2009 or whatever it was when we were entertaining cutting commissions, I spoke out opposed to that because I thought it was penny wise and pound foolish. I'm always in favor of trying to keep volunteers working if they so desire and there's a need. So I'd like to hear a little bit more from some of the committee members that are here tonight if they'd be willing to speak on this. I'd love to hear their opinions. But like to express my disappointment that there weren't more options included in here. And that just now we arrived at this option of disbanding it, but the alternative of forming a separate commission with alternative duties. So with that, I will let my other colleagues speak.
Councilman Wiedemann is a member of that committee, so
Thank you, Your Honor.
your turn.
One very quick question and a statement. How many current members are currently on the Cable Advisory Board? Is it 3 or 4?
There are 4 members,
There are 4 members.
3 open seats.
Thank you. That was the question. Because 3 of those Cable Advisory Committee members came and spoke before our committee. And I was rather impressed. Of those 3, 2 of them said disband the Cable Advisory Board. And you know, this item is coming before us as a recommendation of the committee, not staff. As one of the 2 of the 3 members that voted to disband this committee, I was impressed that 2 of the 3 members came before us and said disband. And this is not unprecedented. I can certainly remember the Fine Arts Commission. As a matter of fact, I can even remember there was a parking commission. So it's not untoward for us to do this every once in a while. The last part of my statement is the fact that of the 4 options read by the chairman of our committee, I certainly believe that we can overfill 1 or more of the existing commissions. I understand there's a vacancy on library, that's a given. I don't know that tonight we should appoint those. I have 1 supplemental from 1 of the 4 members suggesting where they would like to go. But I don't know that after we take action tonight, perhaps come back in a couple weeks so that we can poll those 4 members, depending on what the action we take, of course. Come back and ask them where to go. But overfilling is fine. I'm sorry, I do remember John Jones and the 15-member Parks and Recs Commission. But you know, we're only talking 4 here. And we already have 1 library opening. So that's the end of my statement. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Adam.
Thank you. I'm not on the committee, but I've found out a lot about this. And we go back and forth in calling it a commission and an advisory board, and what it really is an advisory board. It is not a commission. And that's been part of the confusion, I think, to a lot of the people that have applied and gotten on the advisory board. They don't have the same direction and ability to do what other commissions do. And that is because, for those that don't know, when it was first formed, being an advisory board, they had the opportunity to decide, they had a budget, correct? That money that came into the city that they had to oversee.
Yes, part of the original franchise agreement required a public access fee that was assessed to all cable subscribers. It was $176,000 per year, and that was to fund public access. And as the board, they were able to make recommendations to the Public Access Foundation for disbursement of those funds.
And so that was the purpose, and then that money went away, and basically what they were formed to do, they no longer had that power or ability.
They no longer had the requirement to provide recommendations on the public access fee because it no longer existed. The law changed in the state of California in 2008, the Digital Infrastructure and Competition, Video Competition Act, and it replaced any other fees with a PEG fee, which is public, educational, and government access. But that 1% of gross revenues on the cable subscribers is limited and restricted to capital only.
Right. So I asked some time ago whether the cable department, your department, would still keep up the activities or events that you have in the past, such as the open house, and you assured me that that would still happen for the community.
Absolutely.
And
We'll continue with the open house, the monthly producer get-togethers, the open mic as
I think that was
elections come
something
along.
very important.
Mhm.
Yeah. So all the activities that have been put in place will continue.
Absolutely.
Okay. The people that have spoken to me have been in favor of disbanding this. So I am in favor of disbanding. And as Mr. Wiedemann said, I would like to see the people, what do we have, 3 or 4 on here? For the existing 4 people, because they have spent their time, they do want to volunteer, they've gone to the commission training. I feel I would like to see them put on another commission. That would be, if we do vote this way, I would like to see that happen. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hurd.
Thank you, Your Honor. I was one of the members of the committee and one that voted not to disband it. And just want to share a couple of those reasons why, whichever way my colleagues will go with this, but I kind of agree with some of the statements that my colleague, Councilman Goodrich, talked about, and that we need to encourage and have more opportunities for our volunteers to serve in our community. Having been a commission on 2 commissioners, two commissions, the Traffic Commission and the Planning Commission, I know how vital the commission, the role of the commission is for the City Council. The Traffic Commission kind of went through something similar a few years back, because they were not being really utilized, didn't really have a real purpose, and they went through a time of working with the staff to develop a work plan and some plan of action where they could become more useful, if you will, as a commission. During one of the committee meetings, one of the commissioners, Michael Koselik, who was the chair of the Cable TV Advisory Board, shared with us the mission statement. And I had not read it, and I don't think others have read it either. And so I'd just like to read the mission statement that was given to them. That the board advises and makes recommendations to the Cable Television Foundation and City Council in the area of policies and procedures and public access interests, scheduling public access, performing facilities, and equipment for the community and public access channels, and disbursement of foundation funds. Now, that's a broad mission statement, but it's something that you can sink your teeth in, and it seemed to me that they were not, the advisory board, the commission, whatever we want to call them, actually following this mission statement. I was proposing then, I propose now, that we look at some ways to keep the advisory board, keep the commission, make it relevant, vibrant, and a part of our community. That's mine.
Councilmember Griffith.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I was on the committee, obviously, I was the chair, and I listened to all the staff report, comments from the public, which included 3 of the 4 current commissioners or advisory board members. And after reviewing everything, it seemed to me, as the history, we get a report every year from each commission on what they've accomplished. It really seems like this commission really, or this advisory board has not really done anything of any great significance that staff couldn't do on their own, and staff has already committed in our discussions that they will continue to carry forward the things that the advisory board members have been doing. So I don't think there'll be any loss of service to the community. Certainly I would advocate that if we do disband the advisory board, that staff will hopefully utilize that extra time they might have on their hands to up those efforts to really promote the fine facilities that we have. But I really do believe, based on both current and several former members that I've spoken to, that this board is just not the best use of time and energy from our staff and our resources and finances, assuming that number of $9,000 I saw in the report is accurate. And I just, if we want to rebuild a new commission, fine, let's do that. But the current advisory board as it stands should be disbanded, and we should then evaluate and come up with a plan to come up with a new commission if that's in fact the direction that our council would like to take. But in the meantime, I don't see any reason to continue on with the current format. So that would be my vote. My vote would also, obviously, since I voted for that as part of the committee, but I would, if we do in fact disband, I would pull out number 2 on our recommendations, which is appoint the board members to a current or upcoming vacant commission. I would pull that off and do that at a future time, so we have more time to get feedback on what the existing commissioners' desires would be, and that we have more time to evaluate that situation and not try to accomplish that item tonight. But be interested to hear more comment. Those are mine. Thank you.
Councilmember Whitman.
Yes, to the chair of the committee, might I suggest instead of 2, not strike it because we want to show what we want to do, but just take out or upcoming vacant or upcoming. May I reread it for you? Appoint board members to current commission seats. And we just don't have to do it today.
I would say that we should leave it this way because, there's conscription is not in the word yet. There may be people on that board who don't want to serve on another commission, so we're not going to conscript them well.
Well, I will interject. All 4 have indicated they are willing to serve.
Okay. And I don't want to cut you off.
No, I just was proposing something that might get that over.
And we say disbanded, it sounds sort of negative. I saw, as I looked through some of the other cities or municipalities who did away with their commission, I like the word retire the commission. And it sounds just a little bit softer, retire the advisory board. Like my colleagues, I would like to hear from our commissioners a preference to which commission they would like to be on. And then maybe in 2 or 3 weeks we can come back together and work on getting them onto a commission the same way we do any other commission appointments. I think that would be the smoothest way to do it. I think it was 7 years ago we came to a point where we were looking at actually merging commissions, as Mr. Smith pointed out, and I was the biggest advocate for not. Let's keep it open, and I was very hopeful that the Cable Advisory Board would flourish, and I know we charged our staff with coming up with methods to do that, and you did a great job, but with the limitations that occurred in 2008, as you pointed out, it's really just trying to do something, and sometimes you just can't do it. So I think we've come to the realization, and I have to agree with the committee, it's time to retire our Cable TV Advisory Board and move on from there. And I'd like to hear from the public if anybody wishes to see. I know I have a couple commissioners or members of that advisory board. We've heard from you before. The committee has. You don't have to come up if you don't want to. If you do, you're welcome. Yeah, we have 50% of the commission here, so we're getting dangerously close to a Brown Act.
It's not a sad event. Okay, the fact that it's being decommissioned, so to speak. Some of the comments that I personally have is that I know for a fact you can't do what we helped you do with less than $9,000. So those $9,000, I really would like to see an accounting of how we used $9,000 during the course of a year. I'm sure you can tell us that that's kind of a weird number. I do hope all the events continue. I would hope that the commission, the board commission, the committee, a way for community volunteers to continue some of the auxiliary events and to assist in that manner. It doesn't get the advertising it should. I think the community just sees a little blurb in the seasons, and that's about it. I know I don't think I've ever seen a 5x7 mailer go out.
That would take your entire budget and a lot more.
I'm telling you.
Yes, it would. That's right.
That kind of stuff. But yes, the community does need to get more involved.
Well, we actually are always fostering more community involvement, whether it's in our cable TV, whether they're producers or people learning how to operate the equipment, right? And that's an important thing. But most of the advertising, and I think it's appropriately so, is on Channel 3 and Channel 22, and that's where we gather the people who are interested, the ones who are actually watching it. And I think that's an important thing. Reaching out to the schools is an important thing, letting them know we have the ability, and I think that's.
I can only hope the trend continues and increases.
Yeah, and we're very fortunate to have public access. So many cities do not have it now, so I think that thing's going to continue on. We appreciate it as the governing board over the franchise. So thank you very much, Mike. Thank you for your service and for your continued service.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Anybody else wish to hear?
Council and staff. Number one, I want to be a ground-up violation because we haven't had an agenda in 2 months. Also want to thank you all. This has been fulfilling, having the council this involved trying to help with this situation, and all of you taking time in committee meetings and council meetings. And anybody who doesn't know it, these people are all very accessible, whether you're on a commission or not. I've got a lot of people who have come to me with problems, thinking I would be the only way they could talk to you. And it's just come up here and talk to you. But I wanted to once again say thank you for the opportunity that you've given me. Anywhere you need me on a commission, I'd be happy to do it. And thank you so much for all taking the time and the energy to think about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Anybody else?
I thought it was a novel thing seeing a commission decommissioned or an advisory board removed. Just the novelty of it, seeing, because what I'd always been taught is the closest thing to eternal life is a government program. And seeing an advisory board being removed, I thought that was really interesting. I'm trying to understand regarding this advisory board had existed, and there was a fee that was there was a fee that was imposed on residents of the city. Was it for the board and the money was collected, or this is just for all the services that were provided to the city? Is that something that was not clear to me?
This was a franchise fee for access charged to anybody who used the cable operations. Mm-hmm. If you had a cable box, you paid a fee. And it was paid by the cable company for their franchise.
Oh, okay, that's fine. A couple of people had asked me about that, and they said, well, ask them to remove the fee as well, but since that sounds like it's out of your purview.
Yeah.
Okay, so they didn't want to ask it, I asked it. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And a long time ago, the history was when cable TVs all of a sudden came out, franchises were awarded by different agencies. There was competition amongst them, and then they were awarded, and they gave great things to the city. We were fortunate enough to have our telecommunications system put in, mostly by funding that we received on the franchise. And at that time, they put televisions in all the classrooms and wired all the schools and wired all the facilities. Of course, those cathode grade tube televisions have long gone away, and we've moved on since then. So, and as we evolve, this is what happens. It's not. The volunteerism, I think, is the greatest thing. We've had a number of people who served on that advisory board in so many years, and we really appreciate their service, and I think it's time to retire. Anybody else? Seeing no one, I'll take a motion, and it would probably be appropriate to come from the chair of the Okay. Councilmember Goodrich wants to speak.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just, what do you want to look at? I agree with all the sentiments. I think we all kind of recognize that the current role of the advisory board is outdated and that it probably could use sunsetting, to come up with another euphemism for what we're doing here. But for me to support that, I think in order to respect this process and for us to say that we did due diligence, that we really need to explore
Give it up, Tim.
alternative ways for these advisory board members to remain involved, possibly on another commission. I can't recall the last time I went to a community event and I saw any members of the advisory board or anybody from that department out there with a booth with information about our services, maybe with a video camera and a computer to demonstrate a quick 30-second editing clip and what you can do with members of the public and demonstrating that technology. So I would propose that we study that and ask staff to come back to us and really do their due diligence and think outside the box and give it their best effort to come up with other options for these advisory board members to stay involved in not only promoting the services and the resources we have over there, but also maybe something tangentially related like technology within the city. I know there's an awful lot of areas, just a couple that come to mind. Councilmember Griffiths and his idea for Wi-Fi here in the council chambers. That wasn't a reality, even though it could have been years ago. It wasn't a reality here until just maybe a month or two ago. I know in the last several years I worked with our great city clerk here and moving from 1970s cassette tapes to record commission meetings to a digital recorder. Just not too far in the past, our weekly reports for building and safety would always come in paper form. Now they come in digital form. There's an immense number of technology-related things that I think the city could have taken advantage of, and I'd like to see our staff come back with some ideas on how to make this commission more relevant to today's challenges that we face.
Anybody else? Seeing no one, I'll take a motion.
Before I make my motion, I do want to concur that I like the idea of a technology commission or something like that, but not as part of this discussion. That would be something separate. And so I would like to make the motion tonight that we concur with the recommendation of the Citizen Development and Enrichment Committee that the City Council disband the Cable Television Advisory Board. I'm going to alter